Hi, everyone. Thank you for logging into my research proposal. My name is Anna McLeod, and I'm excited to share you my research proposal for EdRes 563 at Washington State University. So for my introduction, my study is looking at the female advancement in higher education. So historically, higher education has been dominated by male leaders. 30% of college presidents are women, which is a really low number if you think about the number of university and colleges in the US. It is really interesting since females are credentialing at a higher rate than ever, but the needle on the scale for the percentage in leadership positions is not changing. So the problem is that there is inequity in the number of females in leadership roles within higher education. There is an abundance of research focusing on the advancement of female faculty members, but there really isn't a lot of focus on non-academic staff, male or female, in those conversations. So there is an increase of females who complete advanced credentialing that do not have intention of becoming faculty or work on the academic side of the house, but still claim higher education as their profession and the desire to advance into leadership roles. So this study is to identify why those individuals are not advancing into the leadership positions they desire. For my research questions, my first one is a quantitative question. What factors influence the career advancement of female non-academic staff members into executive leadership roles within four-year public universities in Washington? My second question is a qualitative question, and it is, how can these factors be improved to promote gender and positional diversity in university leadership? For my literary review, I have three different sections that I'm focusing on and kind of am narrowing down as I move through the review. So the first section is gender inequity in higher education. So really looking at what is the rates of females in leadership positions, whether it's academic or non-academic staff, and what that means for the institutions as a whole. And then looking at the female advancement in higher education. So narrowing down and looking at why women are underrepresented in leadership, is there gender bias and a barrier for upward mobility, and looking at the notion of universities are fixing the women instead of trying to fix the position or institution or system that is oppressing them from roles. The third area that I'm looking at is narrowing down into that non-academic staff area. There isn't a lot of research out there, but one interesting thing that I've found is looking at the females who do progress into senior leadership positions are seen to have hold less prestigious positions in areas such as student affairs. So looking a little bit more into that and what that means. So I do have, since I do have two research questions, I will be doing a mixed methods research. It will be an exploratory study looking at the experiences and stories of participants within higher education advancement. I would be using pragmatism, which is the third paradigm of MMR. And that is based on the fact that I'm using practical questions that really prove and get to a purpose and answer my research questions. I'm trying to provide context within a certain population and problem. And then I hope that in the implications that my findings will change policy in the future. For my justification, there is limited data on my topic, and the mixed methods approach will allow me to answer my research questions and go deep and wide into the data and really balance between that ontological and epistemological area of relativism Knowing that there can be no one truth, and that truth is subjective. So taking the data, the quantitative data from my research and really narrowing it down into knowledge that is gained through interactions and is socially constructed through those interactions. For my participants, I will be looking for female identifying either current leaders or aspiring leaders in higher education. And there will be a focus on individuals that do not have faculty lines within the university. For recruitment, I would be starting with a convenience selection. So those around me at my current institution, and then colleagues that I have throughout the state. And then from there, I would rely on snowball sampling, really using my network as my convenience, and then using their network to get referrals for my study. The location for this study is important because I will be focusing on participants that are in the state of Washington that work for the R1 and regional public four-year institutions in the state. For data collection, I'm going to start with surveys. There will be structured questions, and the results from the surveys will be recorded and analyzed as a nominal value. The second phase will be interviews, one-on-one interviews, either in person or via Zoom, and hoping that the data will paint a clearer picture of personal stories and experiences to really bring that human focus to the study. So for my analytical table for my first question, the embedded concepts in my survey questions are looking at career advancement, demographic questions, really placing them within their university. Where are they at? What division? What executive leadership roles have they held? Have they strived for? And then any factors that have influenced their career advancement. For my second question, I'm going to be digging a little bit more into gender diversity within the institution, positional diversity in the institution, and then what can be done to improve the advancement experience. For ethics, this will be an action research where the research myself could be a participant in the study. Confidentiality in the sample will be key for this study. Since I personally fit into the target population, I will know many of the participants, and my positionality within the research and my confidentiality will be, it'll be key to make that clear and to hold very close. For limitations, one of the limitations of the study is that it will not be able to extend to non-academic staff located at community colleges. And this is based on the difference in structure and requirements for staff and academics between universities and community colleges. The second limitation is recognizing that historically executive positions within higher education at four-year universities were built for individuals on a faculty track. There is not a lot of research about non-academic staff advancement in higher education, so we need to be considerate of how credentialing plays into advancement and whether or not they have an academic appointment. For the significance, institutions of higher education have historically been dominated by white men, especially in executive leadership roles. The study will look into gender equity of individuals that hold executive leadership roles, how they got there, and what their experiences was along their journey. Another aspect is that missing from the research is non-academic staff and their experience. So this study aims to look at the experience of credentialed, non-academic female staff when trying to advance within higher education. With the limited knowledge of this population and their experience, this study will add much needed data. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.